I think when we're in church, we often feel the heavy weight of the word should. It's not that Vicar Rob stands up at the front here week on week saying we should do this or we should do that. I think it's more a sense that we often feel like we're falling short. I think we often feel in our heads things like, I really should do more Bible reading, or I should do more prayer, or maybe I should do more volunteering. But this week, rather than talking about things that maybe we think we should do, let's talk about the things that we actually do. Now, I think at the door, most of us should have received a green post-it note and a pen. How many of us have a green post-it note and a pen? Who doesn't have a green post-it note and a pen? Right then, we've got to hand these out.
I am a green post-it note.
Rob is a green post-it note. Don't write on him, though. I think he might find that quite upsetting. Now, as the post-it notes are so ably distributed by my glamorous assistants, what I'd like us to do with the post-it notes is think of something that you do every day and write it on the post-it note, and if you're able, come and stick it on the front here. And if anyone feels confident enough, maybe we can talk about it as we go through this process. Now, I'll give you some examples, okay? Something that we do every day. Theo, my son, sends a Snapchat image to his cousin, Thomas, every day. And I think the current streak is 155 days. I think he's over there dying of mortification, but there we go. What do I do every day? Every day when I get into work, I write a list of things to do. So that's the thing that I do every day. So have a think as to something you do every day. Write it down and let's talk about it. Okay, we've got some lovely examples up here of things that we do every day. Kiss the vicar. I think that's an anonymous one. Indeed. Visiting my mum. Brush my teeth. I'm not sure that's from Theo. Listen to music when I drive. Doom scrolling. There we go, there's an honest person. Make the bed. Spend time with my family. Tell my family I love them. Eat, sleep. Got a few eats. I pray. Wash my face. Snapchat again. There's another one about scrolling endlessly on social media. There's quite a few Wordles. Duolingo. Have a coffee. They're all great, ordinary things. Things that we do every day. Evie, as much as I do love spending every day with you. I think it is important that we focus on the ordinary things in our life rather than sometimes the things we think we should be doing. After Trinity Sunday last week, this Sunday, as you will have gathered, is the first regular Sunday of what is known in the church calendar as ordinary time. Ordinary time. Doesn't sound glamorous, does it? Each year, we go through this rich routine of festivals. We start with Advent, and it's Christmas, Epiphany, Lent, Easter, Pentecost, and then suddenly we find ourselves in this vast expanse of ordinary time, which runs for about 32 weeks. It'll take us until Christ the King Sunday on the 22nd of November.
Jiggle the battery back.
Jiggle the battery, okay. We spend most of the year in ordinary time. And during the big Christian celebrations, we often look back at stories in the Bible, the real milestone moments, whether it's Jesus' birth, his death and resurrection, or we look forward to a time when earth and heaven will be reunited. But ordinary time is about your journey with God right here and now. We're learning how we live out our faith in the everyday moments of our life. Now, the colour of the season, as Rob is so beautifully modelling, is this rich, lush green which I think is fitting, really. Certainly, like our plants over there, it's supposed to symbolize a period of growth. Those early seasons were like saplings, and then during ordinary time, we shoot up and grow like plants. So don't dismiss ordinary time as this kind of non-event while we wait around for Advent to start so you can start your Christmas shopping. See it instead as a rich period of the church calendar as we take the lessons from Easter, Pentecost, and other big festivals, and we live them out day to day. And I think if ordinary time is about our journey of faith, it's appropriate that our reading from Genesis tells us about the first act of faith in the Bible. It's the story of Abram responding to God's call. And they don't call Abraham, as he subsequently became known, the father of the faith for nothing. In a world where there's so much religious division, Muslims, Jews, and Christians can all agree on the significance of Abraham due to his unwavering trust in God's promises. Those religions are the Abrahamic faiths. And the remarkable thing is, Abram is ordinary. He's ordinary like you and me. He lived as part of the sprawling Mesopotamian Empire. It was the most advanced civilization of its time, with mathematics, astronomy, architecture. And God tells him to leave all of this behind and head into the unknown. Shall I go with a mic?
We'll switch to that.
Okay. And where Abram didn't have land, God promised him land. Where Abram was without children, he was promised children. Now, none of this is necessarily about children or land. It's about newness of life. It's about the disruption of the status quo that we find in the world. It's about a radical kind of faith. And God promises to bless Abram, which is kind of the start of God's rescue mission with humanity, which ultimately finds its fulfillment in the life of Jesus. God says to Abram, I will bless you so that you will be a blessing. Abram is blessed so he can bless others. And Abram doesn't end up seeing the fullness of that blessing. He's often unaware of where God is working in his life. He has blind spots. He makes mistakes. But he still trusts in God's promise, which keeps him moving forward. God's blessing is still there for a man caught in a barren world of oppression and injustice. His faith in God's blessing enables him to mature and grow through all the challenges that he faces. This is the story of an extraordinary but very ordinary life, just like yours, just like mine. So it's my sincere prayer today that you, while you're doing your everyday tasks, when you're eating, Snapchatting, wordling, washing your face, brushing your teeth, kissing the vicar, might think about God. It isn't necessarily about having a carefully laid out prayer life or limiting your spiritual life to when you're in church. God is with you in those everyday moments. The more you think about God, the more you start to recognize God's blessing in your life. The more you see those blessings, the more you might bless others. The more you bless others, the more you are participating in God's life. Now, you might be thinking this all sounds rather fanciful, to be thinking about God in those moments. But it is like a muscle. The more you use it, the better it grows. Let me give an example from my life. The example I gave of something I do every day is write a to-do list. To try and plan for the day, gives me a structure, things to work through. And I'll admit, I'm often so unsuccessful in working through that to-do list I can very often reuse it the next day. There's so little that's actually been ticked off that to-do list. Can anyone relate to that feeling? You can never get everything done that you want to get done. You know, in a world in which we're told you can have everything, you can do everything, it is rather dispiriting to realize how little you can get through in a day, in a week, in a year, and in a lifetime. And as I sat there looking at my failing efforts to work through my to-do list, I started to realize that recognizing my limits was a gift, not necessarily a problem. God hasn't designed us to do everything, or to be everywhere, or to know everything. You know, we can value our work and our bodies and our relationships without thinking we must have endless reserves of energy and time. God doesn't make us that way. We see this in Abram's story. Towards the end of our Genesis reading, Abram heads into the desert where he pitches his tent, builds an altar, and invokes the name of the Lord. It's an act of worship. And at the heart of worship is an acknowledgement of the vastness of God. God goes on forever. You know, we sing about our God being a great big God. You know, that's right. We're singing about something so big that our imaginations cannot even comprehend it. I think as we recognize that we worship a limitless God, it helps us appreciate our own limitations. They are a blessing. You know, running up against our limits keeps us humble. We start to recognize we're not designed to do it all. It's like in the gospel passage today, we hear about Jesus moving amongst ordinary people, tax collectors, religious leaders, everyday folk. I'm sure they're ordinary people who often felt that their limitations meant that they did not necessarily have a place at God's table. But Jesus makes it clear that he wants to spend time with them because of their frailties and their limitations. So this is the blessing I have found in my everyday, ordinary tasks of my life. I wonder what the blessings you might find in your daily tasks as you brush your teeth and all these other fine and heartening examples of things that take place every day for you. You know, as we investigate our faith during this period of ordinary time, you know, let's embrace those sacred moments.